Chapter 25. Scourge led them up the stairs and back to the breach in the wall, where the Emperor's guard had first burst in. Though they could hear the distant sounds of battle echoing faintly through the halls, they didn't encounter combatants from either side. Once they were outside, Mitra allowed herself to breathe a sigh of relief. Night had fallen, but several fires burning inside Nairis's stronghold illuminated the grounds, giving them a clear view of the destruction. The fixed stone wall surrounding the courtyard and the building had been reduced to rubble, and judging by the number of bodies strewn about the courtyard, this had been the location of the fiercest fighting. They picked their way through the carnage to where Scourge's speeder stood unharmed near the landing pad. Every vehicle around it had been destroyed by artillery fire. "It's a miracle this thing's still in one piece," Revan remarked. "The guard must have been watching our arrival," Scourge said. "They knew which speeder was mine." The four of them climbed in, Revan and Mitra helping T3, then headed for the cave where Mitra and Scourge had first met. During the journey, Mitra tried to study Revan without being too obvious. He was still wearing the red and gray mask. For her, this was his true face. She knew what he looked like beneath his helmet, but he had almost never removed it during their campaign against the Mandalorians. Seeing him in the cell without it had struck her as odd. The passage of the years and the suffering he had endured as a prisoner were clearly etched on his features. When he wore the mask, however, all that was hidden. It made him look indomitable, invincible, a legend come to life. Mitra remembered what Bastila had said to her when she had given her the mask. She said she had hidden it from Revan for all those years because she feared what it represented. She feared it would change him. Now, Mitra understood what she meant. Without the mask, he looked more human. It was easier to remember he was just a man, with all the weaknesses and vulnerabilities that implied. With the mask, however, Revan was an icon, a symbol. He was the shaper of history, an individual defined by his actions, rather than his thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Maybe Bastila was right. Maybe Revan needed to become what he once had been to survive this. He had easily bested Darth Nairis, but the Emperor was a much greater opponent. And yet she couldn't help but feel some small tinge of regret, knowing the man Bastila loved might have been swallowed up by the weight of Revan's own past. Scourge brought the speeder in to land, and the three passengers disembarked. "You're not coming?" Mitra asked when the Sith made no move to join them. "I'm going back to Cass City," he said. "I'll see if I can learn any more details about the attack. If we're lucky, the Emperor has spread his resources too thin, leaving him vulnerable. Now might be the time to strike." "Bring back some supplies," Revan said. "Food, water, soap so I can wash the filth of that prison off me." Scourge nodded. "I'll be back in a few hours." The three of them went into the cave. T3, using his lamp to illuminate the dark interior. The cave was empty now. While waiting for Scourge to return from his meeting with the Emperor, Mitra and T3 had buried the bodies of the fallen security chief and his soldiers in a bare patch of ground a short hike away from the cave's entrance. "I'm sure you're eager to change out of those clothes," Revan said. "What about you?" Mitra thought. "Why haven't you taken off that mask yet?" "We have something to show you first," she said. "T3, play the holovid." The droid rolled up beside them, projecting a 30-centimeter tall image of Bastila cooing over Revan's 3-year-old son. "I don't know if you'll ever see this," Bastila said, adjusting a lock of hair on the boy's head as she spoke to the holo-recorder. "But I have to believe you'll return someday. And when you do, I thought you'd want to share." As if in a daze, he slowly sat down on the floor so the projection was at eye level. "Wave to Daddy," Bastila said, pointing in the direction of the recorder. "Say, we miss you." The boy did as instructed, waving his tiny arm vigorously as he repeated Bastila's words. To Mitra's relief, Revan reached up and removed his mask as the holovid continued to play, setting it down on the ground beside him. "I know we didn't discuss names before you left," Bastila said, "but I called him Viener." Revan smiled, realizing it was an anagram of his own name. "I want him to know who his father is," the holo continued. "I want him to understand you are a part of him." A tear rolled down Revan's cheek as he watched the vid, and Mitra quietly retreated into a dark corner of the cave to let him watch in private. She'd stashed her clothes here before she and Scourge had left for Nairis's stronghold, and the shadows gave her the privacy she needed to change out of her slave's outfit. Instead of the black pants and sleeveless red shirt she'd worn on her first arrival, however, she once again donned her Jedi robes. She didn't consciously think about her choice, and it was only as she was clipping the lightsaber to her belt that she realized what she'd done. "You're following Revan's lead," she thought. "If he's wearing Jedi robes, then so are you. Just like old times." As the holovid continued to play, she lingered near the back of the cave. She couldn't help but overhear Bastila say, "I love you, Revan," as the recording came to an end. "I love you too," Revan responded, the acoustics of the cave making his voice unnaturally loud. Mitra shifted her feet uncomfortably at the exchange. She wasn't jealous of Bastila. Mitra loved Revan, but not in that way. She'd never had romantic feelings for her mentor. Rather, she regarded him with deep admiration and intense devotion. At this moment, however, she was acutely aware that Bastila and Revan shared a relationship that went far deeper than what Mitra shared with him. She knew she shouldn't begrudge them that, but some small part of her couldn't help but feel her reunion with Revan had been preempted by a holovid. T3 beeped inquisitively as the video came to an end. "Of course," Revan said. "I'll watch it 100 times over if I can. But give me a minute." He stood up and went to join Mitra in the back of the cave. "Thank you for this," he said. "And for saving me." "It was nothing." "No," Revan said, shaking his head. "Do not underestimate all you have accomplished. Nobody else could have found me across an entire galaxy. Nobody else could have saved me from my imprisonment." He studied her for a moment. "I was told you had been cut off from the Force, but I can sense its power in you. I always knew you had great potential, but you have become far greater than I could ever have imagined. I'm just following in your footsteps." "Not anymore," Revan replied. "You have blazed your own trail. I can sense you have walked a path even I would not dare to tread. I owe you everything, Mitra. It is a debt I will never be able to repay." "No," Mitra said, with a wan smile. "Without your teaching, I could never have become what I am today. I am the one who owes a debt she can never repay." "Then why don't we call it even?" Revan said. "A wise and just solution," she replied. "As always." "Would you like to see the holovid of Bastila and my son?" he asked, offering her his hand. "It would mean more to watch it with a friend at my side." "Of course," she said, a lump forming in her throat. "It would be my honor." When Scourge arrived back at the cave, he found Mitra and Revan huddled side by side on the floor, staring at a holovid projected by T3. He caught a glimpse of a young human female, and what Scourge assumed was her child, but as he approached, the droid quickly cut the recording off. "What was that?" he asked. "My wife and son," Revan said. He stood up stiffly and stretched, and Scourge wondered how long he had been sitting on the floor of the cave watching the holovid. He also noticed that Revan had removed his mask. It was sitting on the ground beside him, seemingly forgotten. "I didn't know you were married," he said. When Revan didn't answer, it was clear he had no intention of discussing his personal life with a Sith. They might be allies, Scourge realized, but they were far from friends, which was as it should be. For a Sith Lord, friends were a liability. "What did you find out?" Mitra asked as Revan extended a hand to help her up. "It wasn't just Neris who was attacked. The Emperor killed them all. The files you showed me listed 5 current members of the Dark Council plotting against him," Mitra said, looking to clarify. "Are you saying the Emperor's Guard wiped out all 5 in the space of a single day?" "I said he killed them all," Scourge replied. "All 12 members of the Dark Council, even those who weren't part of the conspiracy. He wanted to send a message no one would ever forget." "How is that possible?" Revan asked. "He attacked a dozen of the most powerful Sith Lords in their seats of power simultaneously. How many troops does he have?" "The Imperial Guard were only unleashed on Neris and 2 others. The Emperor must have assumed they were the ones least likely to answer his summons. The other 9 were called together in the hours before the attack to meet with the Emperor at his citadel. None of them left alive." "So what's happening now?" Mitra asked. "News of the massacre spread quickly," Scourge said. "As you would expect, the result was chaos. Thousands are fleeing for their lives, fearing we are on the brink of civil war. Others see an opportunity to strike at rivals weakened by the sudden loss of political allies. And armed platoons are roaming the streets." "How did the Emperor react?" Revan asked. He's declared martial law and imposed a curfew over the entire city. The guard are enforcing his orders with their typical ruthless efficiency. He also forbade any ship or shuttle to land or leave before he launched his attack, and he shut down all off-world communications. He's quarantined the entire planet, Revan said. He wants to get everything here back under control before any other worlds hear that he slaughtered the entire Dark Council. You told me he was mad, Mitra muttered, but this is outrageous. There had to be a better way for him to handle this. Thousands of his people are going to die before order is restored. The last time I was here on Drummond Kaas, I peered into the depths of the Emperor's mind, Revan told them. 1,000 lives mean nothing to him. The last time you were here, Scourge said, pouncing on the phrase. Have some of your memories returned? Seeing my old mask triggered something. I remember everything now, Revan admitted. Malak and I learned the Sith still survived. We came here to Drummond Kaas to investigate. Posing as mercenaries, we spent months learning everything we could about the Emperor and his people. Even back then he was already planning his invasion of the Republic. When Malak and I learned of his preparations, we tried to stop him. We found a member of the Imperial Guard who was willing to sneak us inside the Citadel. At the end of their training by a powerful ritual, they would never betray him. True, but we didn't know that at the time, Revan explained. We were being led into a trap. The Emperor wanted us to come to him. When we got to his throne room, he was ready and waiting. His voice dropped low. We underestimated his power. When we confronted him, he didn't even have to fight us. Instead, he broke our wills. He dominated our minds, turning us into puppets to do his bidding. He sent us back to the Republic as the vanguard of his invasion, with instructions to report back when all resistance was crushed. But though we had underestimated the Emperor's power, he underestimated us as well. Our wills were stronger than he thought. Our minds twisted and perverted his instructions until we thought we were acting of our own accord. Malak and I were turned to the dark side, but in doing so we found the strength to block out all memory of the Sith and the Emperor, partially freeing us from his control. But you still called yourself Sith, Mitra said, puzzled. You still attacked the Republic and brought it to the verge of collapse before the Jedi captured you. And even after you stopped Malak, the Republic was still as vulnerable as it's ever been. Why didn't the Emperor just invade then? He didn't know what had happened, Revan explained. He was waiting for us to report back. When he heard nothing, he assumed we had failed. He returned to his original plans, slowly and carefully building up his strength, so that when he finally did invade, there would be no chance of defeat. Mitra glanced over at Scourge, and the Sith could guess what she was thinking. He'd originally allied with them because he feared invading the Republic would be a disaster, with Revan implying the Emperor could actually succeed. She feared he would turn on them. 2 days earlier she would have been right. However, everything had changed when Scourge met the Emperor in person. I won't betray you, he assured her. When I spoke with the Emperor, I briefly touched his mind. What he did on Nathema only hints at the horrors he is capable of unleashing on the galaxy. I truly understand what he has become, and I know that unchecked he will lead us to annihilation. It is inevitable. A good speech, Mitra said, but why should we believe you? It's true, Revan assured her. When the Emperor broke my will, he looked into my mind, and I was able to see the reflection of his own evil. Invading the Republic is only the first step of his plan. He has become obsessed with power and immortality. The dark side is like a cancer inside him. It grows faster than he can feed it. He has consumed an entire world, but he still hungers. And with his hunger comes an all-consuming fear. He has lived 1,000 years. He knows he could live many thousands more. He is terrified of death. Everyone is scared of dying, Mitra said. Not like this. For him, death is not merely the end of his physical existence. The Emperor has spent a millennium gathering his strength. If he dies, he will lose everything. The thought of near-infinite power slipping from his grasp has driven him mad, in his twisted mind. The only way to preserve what he has accomplished is to annihilate every potential threat in the galaxy. Nathema was just the beginning, Scourge agreed. He will destroy world after world, his power and madness growing in concert until he alone is left, Emperor over an empty and lifeless galaxy. Mitra stared at the two in horror. You've been to Nathema, Scourge said. You felt the void. You know what the Emperor is capable of. She understands, Revan said, reading her expression more accurately than Scourge. That's not it. He's quarantined Dromund Kaas, Mitra said, trying to lead them to the same conclusion. What if he's preparing to do the same thing here that he did on Nethema? Scourge hadn't considered that possibility, and it chilled him to his core. Is that possible? He asked. Nyrus told me the ritual on Nethema took days if not weeks, and the Emperor had to trick hundreds of other powerful Sith into working with him so he could draw on their power. He's stronger now, Revan said, but even if it's possible, I don't think he'll go that far. At least not yet. He is too patient, too careful. Dromund Kaas is the heart of his empire, and the seat of his power. He has too many valuable resources here to throw it all away. But once he is ready, there will be nothing left to stop him from launching his invasion of the Republic. What do you mean? Mitra asked. Scourge answered on Revan's behalf. The Emperor had to keep his plans secret because he knew the Dark Council would oppose him. Now they are wiped out, and whoever he picks to replace them will remember what happened to their predecessors and be too terrified to speak out against him. He can also use this to rally the will of the people, Revan added. He can claim the Dark Council was working with agents of the Republic, and that is why he destroyed them. He will claim the Sith Empire has been rediscovered by its old enemy. He will convince his subjects that the only hope of survival is to strike first. He won't make his proclamation until order is restored on Dromund Kaas, Scourge noted. That doesn't give us much time, Mitra remarked, remembering how efficiently the Guard had overrun Nyrus's stronghold. The Guard are patrolling the streets, enforcing the curfew, Scourge said. Only a handful remain stationed at the Citadel. Now is our best chance to strike at the Emperor. This time I know his tricks and tactics, Revan assured them. I can shield my mind from being dominated by his will, and I can show you how to do the same. We should wait until dawn, Scourge said. There will be fewer people out in the light of day, and most of the Guard will be recovering at the barracks after patrolling the streets all night. Good, Revan said. That gives us a few hours to try to get some rest. Both Mitra and Scourge nodded in agreement, though the Sith doubted any of them would get much sleep.